nice bass there. Lovely double figure bass there. Okay, so I've just hooked onto a really nice...
So the very next bass, Bass 20, came on another trip. My next trip over, which was in springtime, and it came on exactly the same lure, 21 gram bomb, different place, but similar conditions in the sense it was small waves, kind of conditions I like to use the 21 gram bomb in. So I remember bringing it over those boulders and I had a little hit, didn't know how big the fish was. I don't know if it was a little schoolie or a bigger fish. And a few minutes later I got a really big hit and managed to get into a really nice bass. Yeah, I really like the look of the spot. There were some boulders, not a lot of swell, but there was some current sort of swirling around these boulders, and I thought if there is a bass around, it's going to be around there. It's always a really nice feeling when you sort of look at an area and you think that's where the bass could be, and it is. It's really rewarding.
Got something, how they go there. Decent one, I reckon. Yeah, the bomb was looking good there.
As soon as this bass hit the bomb, I knew I was onto a really good fish. It put up a really good fight over the shallow reef. It's always worth using a long leader when bringing in big fish around rocky terrain. Sometimes big bass don't put up a really big fight, but this one definitely did, and there was a few nervous moments there.
I'm bringing him along here.
As I always say, the trickiest part is landing the fish when you've got the rocks to contend with. And some fish tend to come in a lot easier than others.
Okay, so nice bass there. Yeah, I came to some great spots earlier. I was fishing off some ledges, but absolutely nothing. It was quiet. So I came to this another mark, very shallow, just over some boulders, and boom, this nice one hit the 21 gram bomb. So yeah, really pleased with that.
This one was the perfect end to a really fantastic trip. So the next bass that came at the very end of the same spring trip. I'd headed down for a spot to fish a few hours before sundown, and probably going a little bit fast over the mud tracks, as sometimes happens. You know, you're out there on your own and you're excited to get out there and fish. You've got sometimes some very sharp rocks over the mud tracks, and one of them went into the tyre and just blew out. I didn't think I was going to fish that night. So anyway, I managed to change the tyre in time before it got dark, and probably had like about an hour's fishing left. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. So I remember going down there. It was about 2 meter swells. It had been high tide and it was dropping down. So it was now about mid tide and dropping, and the waves were breaking quite a way out. So I decided to put on the 56 gram bomb, which is a really good long casting lure, and ideal for situations when I really want to get some distance and cover as much ground as I can. This bass took the lure right over a ledge, probably about 50 meters out. Again, I knew it was a pretty big fish, felt very heavy. I was fishing into the sun, I remember, so I couldn't see an awful lot. But when I did see the fish, I seen that it had the biggest head of bass I think I've ever caught.
Oh, someone's had it out there. Okay, I'm on with a bass. Decent one, I reckon. Yeah, it's a good bass, I reckon. Oh, let's hope he stays on. Flashing around like crazy. Yeah, it's a good one. Sitting this way. Double figure, that's for sure. Whew. That's on the 56 gram bomb. Yeah, okay, it's a lovely double figure bass there. He just took the bomb probably about 40, 50 yards out in a deeper trough where it just goes off a bit deeper. and he just smashed it. So yeah, really, really nice fish that. Absolutely over the moon with that. So yeah, it's great.
It had such a big head on it. I think the bass weighed 15.5 pounds, but it would have been a lot bigger, a lot heavier if it had not been just spawning. It was really quite skinny, not in a bad state or anything, but it had really lost a lot of weight. It was a very long fish, as I said, with a really big head. So if that would have been fattened up, I'd no idea, but it would have been possibly the heaviest bass I think I would have caught, I would say. Now we're going to be running a few competitions in these videos, and one of them is for the Samson Shad. Now at the moment this has been the most popular lure in the Samson range, and we're really getting some great feedback about it. So if you're interested in the chance to win that, all you've got to do is comment below, and at the end comp, and you'll go into the draw. The draw for the competition is going to be the end of September, to give enough people time to watch the film and have a chance at entering. Now the last two bass, number 22 and 23, both good double figure bass. They came after testing the most current new lure to the Samson range, the Shad. Now I spent the whole winter testing the lure. We really wanted to get it right, so there was a lot of testing going on with weighting and shapes and everything. And this is a Shad in white. It's a white version. We've since come up with quite a few different airbrush. This is bigger version, heavier version. There's the bunker version there. And there's a few others on the way, a few other airbrushed ones. We've also done these in a variety of colors, like pink, there's a green one, the high vis, white, and black. So yeah, I've done well. I've caught on most of the colors I've used. I've caught on the black and the pink as well. So this was a trip really to test them out for the first time. And like on other times, I was really feeling confident that the lure would work with the action. It's the next real subsurface lure to the Samson range, and absolutely was loving the action. So I was really looking forward to getting a chance to get down to Portugal and test it out. I just had to hope that the conditions were good. And as it happened, the conditions were absolutely perfect. It was probably some of the best fishing I've had in a long time down there. The swells were good. They were probably averaging around 1.5 meters, which is perfect. I was down there just over a week, and I managed to get over 50 bass or avarios in that time. So it was absolutely brilliant fishing. There didn't seem to be that many big fish around. I got into some bluefish, lots of avarios, lots of decent sized bass. But the first fish came on one of the first days of the trip. I think the swells had just been coming down from a swell. There was a lot of weed in the water. So I was at one particular mark, and everything was coming back with weed on. So I decided to cast in a little bit closer just to see if I could get the lure back without any weed. And when bang, really big bass hit the lure. Now it's quite a tough fight, this one, and again it was one of those situations when I definitely could have lost that fish. It nearly got me, very nearly got me on the rocks.
Okay, so I've just hooked onto a really nice bass. Let's see, right around some rocks.
The swells had been quite big and were coming down, but there was still some power behind them. And I remember this fish got washed up along some rocks that were poking out of the water. Big set of waves brought the fish in, and I thought I was going to ping the line around the rocks when I thought I was going to wrap it around the rocks. And I managed to loosen the drag, or I decided to loosen the drag. I thought it would be the best bet. As I say, it's always important to keep as much tension on as you can in most situations, but if you're in a situation where your line is actually going to hit some rocks, then the best thing to do is loosen the drag or open the bail arm, one of the two. And so I loosened the drag, and I managed to get down over to it in time and tighten up the drag.
God, managed to get off those rocks and go for that.
I was really relieved to obviously land that fish. It was a really nice double figure bass, and that was a brilliant start to, again, one of the nicest trips I can remember over in Portugal. Yeah, I was just glad that I carried on fishing, because after the first, I think, 5 or 6 casts full of weed, I'd thought, oh, I'm going to move on. This is it's impossible here. But I'm just glad I just stuck in a little bit longer, and otherwise I wouldn't have seen that fish.
Well, that's a great start to the day. I was just tweaking this shad over the ledges, and this really lovely bass hit. It looked too weedy when I arrived. It's first thing in the morning, and after the first cast, everything was bogged down with weed. I thought I'd give it a few goes before I moved on, and thankfully I did. Thank God I did, because this one hit. So yeah, lovely catch.
So I'd had an absolutely brilliant trip so far. I'd caught a double figure, as I say, around about 50 fish. I certainly would have still been happy if I didn't catch anything on the last day, but to finish again on another big fish was uncanny, really. Again, I was fishing with a shad. I'd caught literally everything, I think, on that trip on the shad. This time it was the white one. The other one I'd had on the chartreuse. The swells were pretty small, and I was just working the shad just under the surface, probably about 5 or 6 centimeters under the surface. I like to do that, sometimes splashing it. And once again, I knew it was a big fish. It definitely didn't want to come in, that one.
Let's hope this one doesn't go around that rock. Come on. Okay, that's a good bass, sugar. He's fighting really hard. Okay, so it's the last day of the trip. I started the trip with a really nice bass, and I finished with a really nice bass, so I couldn't ask for more. I was testing the shad in all the sizes, and yeah, it's been really good. I'm over the moon with the lure. It's definitely done the job. Okay.
So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's some really nice memories for me for my bass fishing over the last few years. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to answer them. And best of luck this season.